One of our breaking news stories this week, the Office of the Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane insists that it believes that it's the constitutional duty of the police to provide safety and security. It was responding to a ruling of the High Court in Pretoria that set aside an earlier finding from her office against Police Minister Bheki Cele. This was in connection with the lack of protection for two KwaZulu-Natal corruption whistleblowers. Advocate Mkhwebane released a report in 2018 which found that Cele was grossly negligent by not providing the protection. The police department disputed this, saying protection for witnesses lies with the National Prosecuting Authority. We're now joined on the line by the Minister, Bheki Cele. Minister, always a pleasure having you on the program. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, so just clarify for us, for those of us who didn't realize that this now falls under the NPA in terms of protecting whistleblowers. What does the law say?
Well, it starts there. I was not aware. Good afternoon, actually. So there are few disturbing trends from the Office of the Public Protector on this one. We took the matter to the review because we knew that the protection of witnesses falls within the Department of Justice. To start with, the advocate in the Republic of South Africa could have easily understood that thing. The second one is a statement that she believes that constitutionally this still falls under the police. That's a problem. It's quite a dangerous trend for the public protector to try and find us guilty on her beliefs. It should be on law, because the law is very clear. The matter was taken to court in March by the Mr. Zulu, and there was a judgment in the High Court to say the Department of Justice will have to give the protection on this one. Wow. And the protector knows, but she still believes on her opinions and her beliefs, not the law.
So what happened in the interim, Minister, with, while this was being ironed out, in terms of the protection for whistleblowers, which you would agree is very, very important in South Africa, they were left without protection in this regard?
Well, as the decision was made by the court, that the justice does, and the justice leads on that, on the witness. Well, they say is not a witness, but in the finding of the public protector, he had to get the protection, Mr. Zulu and Mr. Studer, because they gave the evidence on the case of Sindiso Magaka. So we believe that the justice leads on that. Justice then it takes a different approach. Sometimes they take people where they believe they are safe and they arrange their security there. Sometimes with private security, sometimes with the police, but they lead. It does not fall under the ambit of the South African Police Service per se. It falls under justice. So if I'm told that Mr. Zulu was taken, did not like the system, has got out of it, until it's fixed at that level, really that's what the law says, that the justice does give the protection, not the South African Police Service.
We need people to blow the whistle on corruption in South Africa, that you would agree on. In terms of how it actually works, from your understanding, if somebody comes forward and says, I'm a whistleblower, I have this information with regards to corruption, how long do they get protection?
Well, we do need, and as I'm saying, these two gentlemen not having been protected, it doesn't give us joy as a South African police, but there is a law, and the law prescribes that who does it, and how long and how is it done. That department, that's the law prescribed and the law directs to do that, must make the proclamation, must make the direction and see how they protect those people. So, but the crux of the matter is that the law prescribes who does it. It's not just the police. So we'll expect that those people know better how it should happen.
How's your relationship, sir, with the public protector currently?
Well, it should be the working relationship with the protector. When there are things for her to investigate, she must do that. The only thing we are requesting from her is that she's transparent, she uses the law. Like this thing to say we reach a settlement, we did not reach a settlement with the public protector. Madam Hughes on the 3rd of June made a decision to say the report is invalid in its Twitter site. So we'll work and cooperate all the time. But please, she should not use her opinion and what she thinks. She must use the law.
I just want to shift gears a bit, so to speak, Minister. And while I have you here, you know there's a lot happening around the world with regards to allegations of police brutality in America. There's allegations in South Africa that we've heard of over the number of years. These mass protests, they're born of pain, and I guess they're motivated by outrage against what people are seeing on video. What's your take with regards to some of the allegations that have come to the fore?
Well, brutality of the police, it doesn't matter where, should not be accepted and should be fought against. That includes here in South Africa, and I saw the ANC has taken the campaign against that brutality of all enforcement of forces, including South Africa. So maybe it was on the understanding that some people in South Africa have a history of this being brutalized. And then the Constitution thereafter took it on board that we'll have to have people or structures that police the police. Hence the IPIT in the Republic of South Africa, the Human Rights Commission and all that. But besides police themselves, we have our own structures that look after the police that are rookies, the police that are not doing their job, the police that get excited. Indeed, will forever condemn that, and consequences must come on that. But the world has been taken up by two issues. They've been taken up by the issue of brutality of police, but the issue of race again. South Africa, it might have the history, but I think the race issue is one issue that would not suffer much as it has happened in America. I listened the long list of people that have died, and most of them, they died in the hands of the white police. So that difference must be put in there to say while we need to fight the brutality of police, but also we must appreciate that the race has not been a prominent thing in the Republic of South Africa.
But what practically can be done, Minister, in order to get ahead of this and to not have as many incidents as what we're seeing in the United States? For instance, the United States are looking at policies, they're looking at training mechanisms or the way police are trained in the United States. For example, doing away with something called, I might be wrong with the exact term of it, but a chokehold. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Are we retraining, or should we be retraining our police officers in order to effect better change in our communities?
Well, as I said, that is the history that we come from. Was hell in terms of brutality of the police officially, and that was, remember, legislated that people had to be brutalized. So as we come to the new dispensation 94, we put the structures. But not only that, we keep on finding the new ways. Farnham Commission has made good recommendations on this matter. The National Development Plan have made recommendations. In terms of training, in terms of approach, in terms of socialization of the South African police. Remember, all South African police are members of the South African society. They are socialized in the South African situation, which unfortunately, so far, Mr. Hammond, is very violent, the situation in South Africa. So it will have to be de-escalated in the whole community, and then you recruit the police from there. But I agree, the training then will have to be better, the training will have to be improved, and the training will have to say there is a history here that we're not supposed to go back to it. But before all that happens, the structures must help us, and there should be a consequential management on the things that are not done properly. Unfortunately, in the Republic of South Africa, which unfortunately not much word is made on that, police themselves are on the receiving side. I think we are one of the countries where we have a very high degree of the murder of the members of the South African police. Those are the things that we'll have to really balance, to make a call on the community to say, don't kill the police, but also the police, improve the relationship. Together, we'll have to work hard on that to increase the better relationship between communities and the police, so that the work is both the police and the community, they have one enemy, which is criminality, rather than fighting and hating one another.
I mean, I keep on saying, and I've been saying it for the past 3 hours now, is that we have to respect law enforcement officials. But it works both ways, Minister. They have to respect the community that they're policing. I was speaking to Bishop Mkhwebane earlier on and talking to him about, you know, what's his sense getting from the ground in terms of, do people or the people in uniform understand that there are consequences for their actions? We talk about accountability, and we know that accountability deters people from wrongdoing. Is there enough accountability in South Africa?
Well, as I'm saying, that we have several structures that are looking and they are overseeing the police, your parliament, your portfolio committee, everybody. And the IPIT is one thing that we have done, because we find that the brotherhood is developed when the police, they look after police. Hence, the IPIT was one of the structures that is put there to deal with the police. Quite a lot of the police, by the way, that have been charged and taken to court and have decision by the NPA, tried and found guilty. Indeed, there is that. When I wouldn't say that maybe that is enough, but there is accountability as we speak. People that have been sent to prison because they've broken the law, brutality, and other crimes that our members have committed. But what I would love to remind ourselves is that there are many good police that are doing their job honestly, that they are doing their job with the people of the Republic of South Africa. Unfortunately, we do get a lot of this feedback from the community in terms of bad things we've done. But we've got a lot of good wish and goodwill from the community saying, police so-and-so has done the good work. There are stations where I will get the report to say, why don't you make all the police like that station, like police station A and all? Is that a different kind of training and all that? I'm saying our effort will have to forever go on that and train the police, but also work the relationships and for the police to understand that there is no force from them, but it's only the service. But also the communities to say, please, let's work together so that the results are better.
Minister, I just want to touch, before we let you go, on the COVID-19 lockdown regulations. I'm just looking at a story that's come through now. A Kimberley Tavern manager has been arrested after he was caught selling alcohol at the weekend. We are running a poll today asking our viewers with regards to alcohol regulations. And we know this at the back of authorities saying that there's been a spike in alcohol-related crimes since the introduction of level 3 lockdown regulations. Do you think, let me throw the question to you, Minister, do you think alcohol regulations should be tightened beyond this lockdown?
Well, I don't know if you're not asking the wrong man when it comes to alcohol. But look, I don't want to speak from the side of crime, because that one is very obvious. Since the lockdown, we had a very low kind of crime, especially murder. But let me tell you, on the very same day, the first, when the alcohol was sold, between 5 p.m. and 5 a.m., 40 people died in the Republic of South Africa in the 12 hours. And this is Monday. Usually it's a day where the crime is low. The next day, 51 people died. So that has been the increase. But put aside the crime, listen what the doctors are saying. I have a lot of messages from the doctors here. One young doctor works at Boxback. She says, since the lockdown, the highest number they received that was supposed to be in the theater and the trauma centers was 3 for the whole lockdown, which will be the highest number there. But on the first, they received 20. So what is happening is not just the crime situation, but the opening of alcohol has begun to clog the system, has begun to compete between the health facilities, between COVID-19 sufferers and the people that they go there almost voluntarily because they get drunk, they shoot one another, they push one another, and they go and clog the system. Indeed, if you ask me, the decision has been taken with respect to work within that decision taken by the government, but I would be lying when if I'm not saying since the opening of the alcohol, crime and the blocking of the health system has really worsened.
Minister Cele, we have kept you long enough. We thank you very much indeed for your time. Be well, sir.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
All right, that was Police Minister Bheki Cele.